Oh, okay.
Got it.
Are you muting us, Sherry?
No, I won't, but I'm gonna
Hit
rely
that
on
try
you to do
again.
that.
Okay.
But I can, but let's see if we
We
can
need to do
do it
that.
ourselves. So, all right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Sherry Chauvin, and I need my notes here. Well, I knew that part without my note, but so welcome. Today we have a packed agenda. I'm going to go ahead and just review what we're going to do for the agenda, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So we will do announcements. I have quite a few announcements today, so we'll do that. And then we will, sorry, trying to read this without glasses. Oh, intro of new members. So we always do that where if you've never called in before, you're going to introduce yourself if you want to come off of mute to do that. And then we'll introduce our guest speaker, Jamie Montgomery. And then Kathy, Tammy, and I will tee up some questions for Jamie. And then once that's done, we'll have you all jump in and ask questions that you would like to. So I'm going to take my camera off real quick because I need to read with glasses real close. So in terms of announcements, these are coming from our chapters president meeting. So all of the alumni chapters presidents meet quarterly and we get kind of some information from them. And this next one is about the LA fires, and I did post it on our Facebook page, but just I want to go ahead and read this statement from them again. Our hearts go out to everyone affected by the devastating fires in Southern California. We are deeply saddened by the loss and challenges many in our community face during this difficult time. Please know that we have reached out to GDB clients and puppy raisers in the impacted areas, and our understanding is that everyone is physically safe. We know that many of you would like to help those affected by the wildfires in Southern California. Support needs may become clearer when the initial emergency has passed and recovery begins. We will let you know if there are specific ways that you can help. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and generosity of spirit. And then the support center team, they're here to provide support, of course, information and resources, and then of course reach out to them. But as always, in the event of an emergency, please follow safety instructions from your emergency personnel in your area. And then finally, the devastating events in Southern California are a good reminder to always have a plan for dogs and pets in the event of natural disasters and emergencies. Visit our website for safety information and tips on keeping our canine family members safe, including what precautions to take in the event of dangerous air quality situations. And their dog safety tips are actually on their No Bones About It blog page. It's a really great resource. I hadn't looked at it for a long time, and they have a lot of information, links to information about safety, cold weather, hot weather, air quality, etc. So next announcements, Conversations with Chris is coming up Saturday, February 8th at 10:30. It's one that you have to, a webinar that you have to register for. And if you did not receive an email with a link to register, contact the support center and they will get you set up with that. The note about the meeting is that there are important organizational updates and a special announcements are part of the session. And Susan Armstrong, the VP of Client Services, will join Chris. I was hoping Jamie could give us a preview what the special announcement is, but I have a feeling we'll have to wait till February 8th. Okay, alumni reunion. The board announced the theme, which is Go, Dream, Believe, GDB. And the alumni board is working on excursions. And just a reminder that the dates are October 16th through the 19th at the San Rafael Embassy Suites Hotel. And they'll be sending out an email soon about a call for submissions for workshops. So I hope that some of you will share something great at a workshop. And then last announcement is our heart leadership. So Kathy Wentworth, who introduced herself to everyone, I think in our last heart meeting, has joined the team to help conjure up ideas and content for meetings. Kathy has been a puppy raiser, a puppy club leader. She's worked in the kennel kitchen, is a current foster care provider. You name it, she's done it. So she'll be joining. And then Jenny, of course, will continue with her excellent meeting facilitation. Jenny?
Okay, well, with that, let's have people who have not been on any of these heart calls in the past, please introduce yourself. So if you want to take yourself off mute, we'll see if we can kind of do this in an organized fashion. I did a lot of familiar faces, so I don't think there's too many newbies, but we'd love to hear from you. If you would share your name, where you live, what your affiliation is with GDB, how many dogs you've either raised or handled or fosters or kept, or however many GDB dogs have touched your heart, and also the name of the dog that you currently have if you have one. So should we go ahead and see if we can do this in an organized way? Go ahead and unmute and let's try it. Anybody new out there?
I'm new. My name is Ginger. I've been a puppy raiser for 5 years, and I've raised 3 dogs. My current dog is Boomer, and I'm in Loveland, Colorado.
Perfect. Thanks, Ginger. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Anybody else new
Hi.
to our?
I'm
Hi.
Shauna. I'm from Las Vegas, and I'm currently a guide dog user. But Wendy is in foster care back in San Rafael for medical evaluation.
All right, good. Well, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Nula.
Hi, everyone. I might have been on here once before, but I don't remember. So I'm Lindsay Sloan. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I've had 5 dogs from GDB, and I currently have a little female black lab named Posey from Guiding Eyes, but I'm still very connected to the GDB community, which is why I'm here.
Welcome, Lindsay. Anybody else?
Hello, this is Cody.
Go ahead, Cody.
Hello, this is Cody Meyer from Atwater, California. I'm working my second guide, a golden retriever male. I'm a graduate. Glad to be here.
Great.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Cody.
Glad to have you. Who else out there?
Hi guys, this is Catherine. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Currently an active guide dog user. Working my second guide, Beret, a little yellow female. In my lap is my retired guide Nabisco, who still lives with me. And I'm a former puppy raiser for guide dogs and a foster care provider. So guide dogs is a big part of my life, and I'm happy to be here.
Yay.
Catherine, we're glad to have
Amazing.
Thank you.
you. Anybody else?
My
Hi,
name is
Sylvia.
Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Sorry.
I think
Hi, I'm Claire,
Go ahead,
and I'm from the Austin Puppy Raisers Club, and I'm currently co-raising Ty. And I'm getting my first puppy to raise from the Esme Adventure Litter on Wednesday.
exciting.
Hooray.
Congratulations, Claire. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Sylvia,
you.
why don't you go ahead?
Well, that's a fabulous transition because my 4th guide that I have, Hildegard, was raised in Texas.
Yes.
And so it's Sylvia from Toronto, Canada.
Welcome, Sylvia. Anybody else? Going once, going twice?
Kathy Touton from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I have had 3 dogs from Guide Dogs for the Blind. A male that was 26 inches tall and 80 pounds. He worked
My
from
goodness.
2002 to 2007. And then I had a yellow male American lab that was 23 inches tall, 70 pounds. He worked from 2007 to 2013. And then I had a yellow female American lab that was 20 inches tall, 55 pounds, and worked from 2013 to 2017. That's my guide dog for the blind dogs. I don't currently have one from Guide Dogs for the Blind because I have severe balance issues now.
Great. Well, thanks
Quite,
for
quite the
joining
range
us.
in sizes there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for joining. That's awesome.
Anybody else? All right. We're going to turn it over to Sherry to introduce our guest speaker.
All right, introducing Jamie Montgomery, who's a field service manager for GDB. And just a real quick high level for people who aren't super familiar with the role, this is what GDB has on their website. And of course, Jamie will elaborate, but field service managers are dedicated to providing direct assistance to the clients in their zone, conducting graduate, I'm trying to read without glasses. This is really a bad idea. That's so vain. Conducting graduate visits and applicant home interviews. Additionally, the field managers coordinate regional assignments of campus instructors who are regularly scheduled to travel into the field for these purposes. These experiences are doubly beneficial as clients receive professional attention. GDB staff are noting practical challenges facing guide dog teams. These real life examples continually inform our dog training development and class training objectives. Welcome, Jamie.
Sherry, can people please mute it? We'll cut down on the background noises. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thanks, Annette. Yeah, will everyone please mute besides Jamie?
Thanks for the intro, Sherry. I'm so happy to be
Yeah.
here. And
Thank you.
I wish I knew what the special announcement was, but I actually have no idea. I'm like, did it already come on a training department meeting? We get so many announcements. None was
bet.
highlighted as something special that was being
Something
announced.
special. I have to wait till February 8th like the rest of us, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll find out the secret in February too. I don't know, but
Well,
so-
thank you so much for coming. You have quite a fan following. People are very excited that you're our guest today. So would you please introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit more about you and your background and then your role?
Absolutely. So I'm Jamie Montgomery. I am a not so tall, middle-aged, blonde Caucasian woman. And I am a campus-based field service manager, which is something we haven't had for a very long time at Guide Dogs for the Blind. So we've got clients from all over at this meeting right now. And as you may know, there are field service managers around the US. I think, don't quote me, 7. I could list off their names and associate a number with that. But so I actually am in my cubicle right now at the Oregon campus. So I work out of Boring, Oregon, which is kind of near Portland. I will have worked for Guide Dogs for the Blind for a decade in May, and my zone is Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Canada. I grew up in part of that zone, so in western Wisconsin, where I lived for about 20 years. And before GDB, my background was in livestock, of course, as a Midwestern girl. I did FFA, I did 4-H, and exotic animal training too. So I have degrees in biology and exotic animal training and management. I currently live with my husband, Michael. We have 3 dogs, possibly expecting a 4th this year. We shall see. So 10-year-old retired guide dog and black Labrador Lila. 8-year-old career change black lab Opa, and a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd Fizz. Our family travels often, including up to BC, Canada, and all over kind of the West Coast and sometimes in the Midwest for a dog sport called flyball, which all of our dogs play. And if you've never heard of flyball, it's like a dog relay race kind of, and the dogs are on teams, and each dog has to run over 4 jumps and trigger a box at the end that shoots a tennis ball that they have to catch and carry over the over the jumps and over the line, and then the next dog can come in. It's very loud and very fast paced. And yes, even my retired guide dog learned it, although it took her a while because she tried to avoid the jumps at first. She thought they were obstacles. But she plays now. We also compete in rally, which is it's like pet dog obedience. And I've also volunteered for 2.5 years now as a court appointed special advocate for foster care youth as well. So a bit about my role, because it's a little unique in terms of my location, which I think is really exciting that I'm based on a campus, is that I get to be connected with current class and dog training practices. And I sometimes, when I have a little bit of time, which is infrequent, I can, fill in if a class instructor is sick or a dog needs to be worked or something. So I have a direct connection with our current training programs, which is really nice. A little bit about my role. I mean, I think GDB does a good job of summarizing it on the website, but field service managers are kind of like the masterminds behind the telephonic or direct visits that teams get every 10 to 18 months, depending on a lot of factors. I speak with instructors before and after their trips and keep a general pulse on how things are going with everyone in my zone. FSMs travel a lot. We are on the road a lot, or flying in my case a lot, because part of my zone is quite far away. But we also do provide phone, video, and email support alongside the support center too, of course. It's a pretty big intro.
Oh, okay. That was it. I was waiting for more. It was very exciting. I thought we were just getting into it now. Well, why don't we kick off questions? I'm sure that will bring up more questions and answers. So I think Jenny's up first.
I think Kathy's on the.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
You're right, Kathy.
Hi, Jamie. I'm sorry about my camera not working. I don't know what is going on with that, but as a person who had a dog as a foster during the COVID time period, in fact, that's when I got my for a change dog, Lisa, that you trained. Thank you very much.
No.
She's awesome. And we noticed, a number of us in the club noticed at that time that as fosters, some of those dogs didn't get much socializing, as they otherwise did pre-COVID, because people were very masked, not being able to go to places that they wanted to. So we were kind of wondering, are you seeing any differences between the dogs that graduated maybe a couple years ago and how they're graduating now, whether the socialization has made any difference, or post-COVID, are dogs less anxious? Are they more acclimated to being out in the public and feeling more confident? Have you noticed any difference between those?
I think that's a great question. So I haven't noticed any significant difference in the number of individual dogs experiencing anxiety or other behaviors that are, stereotypically associated, especially with like pet dogs, from COVID. And this got me thinking, I think it's possible why we didn't really haven't seen a trend in dogs issued as guide dogs is because our standard for dogs graduating remained the same, and our matching process of putting dogs in environments where we anticipate they will thrive also stayed the same. But that could have been affected by socialization, right? But we've always supported clients with dogs experiencing anxiety for any reason, and there hasn't been more support provided for anxiety in dogs than has previously been provided. Interestingly, a behavior trend that has been pointed out and noticed by field service managers at our last retreat, and one that I don't think we would have anticipated, is a decrease in support for house behavior issues and dog earning freedom in the home quickly. And there's no way to know if that's directly tied to dogs that have spent more time in the house, but I thought that's kind of an interesting trend we have noticed in the past couple of years.
Well, I wonder if that is related to less time that people were spending with their clubs in reinforcing that during that time period, or now that people are spending less time with their clubs and less time maybe getting reinforced for that kind of behavior in the home.
I think it's really hard to track different things. But but I do think it's interesting to think about. But overall, we're not support wise, like from the support center and field service managers perspectives. There really hasn't been a difference, but I do think that we've probably filtered out if there were differences to the best of our ability, so we wouldn't see it as much with clients. There could be individual, of course, cases, but nothing like trending.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good morning, Jamie. My question is almost on a parallel to what Kathy asked, but slightly different. So as the puppy raisers on the call know, and probably some other people as well, puppy raising has undergone a pretty significant shift over the last couple years to be a little bit less formal. We kind of like to say we focus on the fundamentals, and we really emphasize fun with capital F-U-N. But the main thing as raisers we're focusing on are things like puppy confidence and resilience, and not quite as formal as perhaps some of the raising guidelines in the past where we would have, kind of a perfect position or that type of thing. So a couple examples for people who aren't quite familiar with this is that in the past we used something called a paw pad, which was just a little, almost like a little mini step that the raiser would put to their left. And that would be a way that we would help our puppy learn, the proper position. And also that beautiful tuck sit where they keep their front feet in place and their back feet kind of come up underneath them, which helps them later when they're going to be in a harness. Another example that's been really kind of mind-blowing for some of us as raisers is that puppies now are allowed to go on what we call adventure walks, where they are encouraged to sniff, which is definitely something we didn't let them do much in the past. So I'm curious, it's still kind of new, but I just was curious, kind of similar to Kathy's question, have you seen any impact on these changes in puppy raising on those dogs that are being recalled for their readiness, to start formal guide dog training?
Okay, so this question I'm going to answer to the best of my ability because I'm not the best person to have a pulse on the puppy raising department, and also I stopped training dogs formally last year in 2024, but I did a little bit of poking around prior to this because we were kind enough to submit some of these ahead of time. And it's too soon to have any kind of formal sort of trend in terms of something Guide Dogs for the Blind will probably eventually announce when we are able to keep collecting kind of like graduation rates and trainers' anecdotal accounts because of how hard or easy dogs were to train to make them become guide dogs. But so far, the graduation rate is unchanged. So at the very least, we're not noticing anything decreasing
Great.
our dog's graduation rate, which is awesome. And of course, the goal is for, human and dogs to both have fun and producing confident thinking dogs that can have brains that are potentially ready to start making choices as guide dogs when they come in. So everyone's excited to see, especially the trainers, if we have confident thinking dogs to train. But I suspect that at some point there'll be something more formal as we get, another maybe 2 years of data or something.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, it just kind of in general terms, what would you say are the biggest hurdles that the trainers are facing when dogs are recalled to campus to begin formal training?
When I thought about this one, I actually got a little emotional, and I think it is the clients will end up feeling this too. So everyone, every trainer feels the pressure that right now that some clients have been waiting a really long time for a guide dog, and we have a large wait list right now. And the deflated feeling when a dog has to be career changed is hitting harder than ever for instructors that are working so hard to make sure every dog fulfills their potential so that we serve as many clients as possible. And yeah, it's a tough time to be an instructor and a client waiting for a dog right now at Guide Dogs So Blind. And, you know, if you didn't know, instructors are evaluated a minimum of 80 times a year. And most positive reinforcement as guide dog instructors comes from our clients. So if you've thanked an instructor lately, it is more appreciated than you know.
Awesome. Great, thank you.
Thank you for humanizing yeah, that's really good to hear that perspective, actually.
Well, Jamie, this is Kathy Wentworth again. I really, really appreciate every single thing. Every time I see an instructor with a dog, I know what goes behind getting that dog to campus. And every puppy raiser, I think the T-shirt says, behind every guide dog, there's a puppy with a razor heart or something to that effect. And
something like
I
that.
know how appreciated you are. I'm sure you never hear that enough. Nobody can hear enough praise enough, but I agree. You should get praise from everybody that you come in contact with. Well, you already answered one of my questions, which was house behaviors need to be really reinforced. And I've noticed that even as a foster person having dogs in the house, each foster is a little bit different. So it takes a little time to get to know them. And when you dress them, then they throw you a curveball. So that's the thinking dog. That's one that I really spunky ones to me. But what are some of the things that you may see or you may hear from your newly matched teams that could build a bond between them and their dog, maybe to reinforce just how thankful they are for the dog too, because it's such a learning curve, I would think, for some of the teams, people who've never had a dog before, people who have had another dog, and now they're getting used to the new dog. What are some of the things that you might see that can help current handlers make it more fun or more interesting or build a bond between them and their dog? Is there anything like that in your job now that you've thought of?
Yeah, I work a decent amount with new teams now. Instructors do as well, but I'm seeing a lot of them as a field service manager. And so for my new teams, I think being understanding that your guide dog has undergone several transitions to get to you. So, you know, raiser to trainer, trainer to trainer, trainer to hopefully guide dog handler at some point. And so they don't know that you're the one. And being in a new place with a new person isn't always a fun experience, even though the puppy raisers do a really good job of preparing these dogs for transitioning between people with puppy sits, puppy trades, having different people handle your dog, etc. So taking time to build a relationship with your dog during guide work and outside of guide work help them be comfortable and have positive experiences in your home environment. And also, you know, teach your dog in a manner you would want to be taught new things if you were starting a new job, likely with, you know, positive reinforcement and timely and fair feedback on how you're doing. And, you know, just remember it's normal to feel like you've found your groove as a team after a year, not after a week. It's not normal to feel like you're completely bonded with your dog after being home for a week, right? And I will also put a plug to, you know, be thoughtful about your transition plan going home with your dog too. Talk about it with your class instructor and then stick to it, you know, including any recommendations that your class instructor gives you about, you know, patterning, doing purposeful routes to a destination, and introducing new routes incrementally.
As a reminder, change the robot filter. Just let me know if this is done. Alexa, stop.
Perfect timing because that was the end of my thoughts.
Great information. This next question, I'm going to kind of transition to more into your field work. And I had trouble phrasing this question, so forgive me, and hopefully you'll understand the gist. But maybe talk a little bit about what the types of visits you have mostly focus on. Are they more, problem solving, general support, etc.? And then broadly, what are some of the things you look for when you meet with teams in the field?
Mhm. So my experience as a field service manager sometimes looks different than for an instructor because field staff kind of like naturally trends toward urgent, complex team needs, completing applicant home interviews, and seeing people who have, requested problem solving like outside of the typical cycle when follow-up occurs in their area. And it's a team effort to connect with all 1,700-ish kind of guide dog teams and instructors, are covering at least a minimum of 50% of the annual travel in order to make that all possible. But sometimes I do get to do like regular follow-up visits too, especially if I'm already in the area and I see people who aren't near, a hub of clients, so it might not make sense to send an instructor there. So that's, I get a range, but I definitely have a lot of course, problem solving, urgent things and interviews as well. But you can also see your field service manager just for your regular old follow-up visit too. In terms of what I'm looking for, and of course that's not just me, but everyone who comes out to meet with a team is really are the teams safe? That goes for both the dog and the handler together. Are they're making safe
Yeah,
choices?
good puppy.
And is the work they're doing effective? So that means are the customizations and modified cues or off-roading, etc., working for this team? And does the guide dog understand what it's being asked to do? And so if the work of the team is effective, I'm not there. No one from GDB is there to judge if a team is doing things differently than in class if it's working for them. Safe and effective is a phrase that you get taught very early as a guide dog trainer.
Jamie, it's Holly McKnight, and Britta and I say hello.
Hi, Holly.
And believe it or not, we graduated almost. March will be 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, well, actually, I don't know if you even knew this, Holly. I was pretty instrumental in matching Britta with Holly.
Yep.
Awesome.
I did know that. And you said she would smooth out and things like that. And you were right. Oh my gosh, this dog is incredible.
Oh, good.
Quick story. When my dad died, we were in the hospital room and she was there in ICU. I took her out of harness and she went over and climbed up into a chair across the room afterwards, which we all interpreted to mean, okay, I just lost my grandpa, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But it was neat to watch her have those feelings.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad.
Thanks.
So Jamie, you kind of talked a little bit about the importance after the dog comes home or goes home with a handler of just continuing to build that relationship. So what are some other traits you see in teams that you feel leads to like a successful team besides what we just talked about?
Mm-hmm. We have so many successful teams and all of them are doing it a little bit differently. I think a helpful mindset is, and that I admire, and especially the people I talk to have had multiple guide dogs, is that a perfect dog doesn't exist, just like a perfect human doesn't. And there's always going to be, a quirk or an area of development in a dog's work or relieving, focus, house behavior, and it's going to be different with every dog. And so striving to be the best guide dog team you can be doesn't mean that either of you has to be perfect.
Ready?
Okay.
Someone needed to hear that. And so that, I think, some of the team, you know, I go out and I just love seeing great guide work. I love seeing great teams, and I think that um, some of the best teams I see, they're not actually trying to be perfect. They're just striving to be the best guide dog team that they can be and the best handler they can be.
And open to your feedback, I think is super important too.
That's always nice, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to queue up a softball question here, and this is based on my own personal experience. But do you find that handlers ask for help in timely manner, or do you feel most people wait a little too long to reach out for help? I'm one of those waited a little too long. And just briefly, my last guide dog I had, problems after I came home for like 6 months before I decided I needed to reach out, and issues with like air scenting, not paying attention, that kind of thing. And because I live local, my instructor came out and she said, I'm not going to tell you I'm there. I'm just going to follow you. We met, in a certain area. She's like, I'm just going to follow you, see what's happening. She followed me in a pretty complicated route. It was like 20 minutes long. At the end, she talked to me for maybe 30 minutes, and I never had a problem again with that dog in that same way. It's because it was my fault. I wasn't communicating, but I thought there was something with the dog. So it's like, do you find that, I mean, I cannot encourage people more to call the support center because everybody there has had so much experience. So what do you see in the field? People wait too long, or?
It might be that it's too soon for me to tell, since I've only been doing this since July of 2024. But from what I've seen is people are very different in how often they ask for support. Some people, call weekly. Some people wait for their next visit in 12 to 18 months, and there's just such a huge range. And it's very interesting. So I'm not sure if in general people tend to wait too long, but I do think I want to encourage people that, you don't have to wait until something feels out of hand to ask for assistance. And it's also okay to request a direct visit instead of a telephonic one year. It's actually normal that some people who qualify for their telephonic visits will request a direct one instead to work on something big or small. Um, and I love that you brought up the support center because I want to give a plug to them. Sometimes I have talked to people who are hesitant to call because they don't necessarily understand that the support center is staffed by a small number of very experienced guide dog instructors, including my former mentor when I was an apprentice. And they give excellent advice, and they know more about traveling to Hawaii than your field service manager does. um, so they are there for timely assistance to issues because field service managers are often traveling. We go to areas with no service. We're not always the quickest way to get advice, especially if it's just a conversation. And I think, like you're saying, Sherry, is sometimes I visit teams and there's an issue that seems like it's big, and I just remind them, hey, do you remember that you're supposed to give a hand cue on your moving turns? And then, like,
Yeah.
boom, the dog does moving turns, and they're like, oh my God, I've been struggling with these, like you said, for 8 months, and I just forgot that I'm supposed to wave my hand to the right when I want my dog to go right. And so sometimes it's an easy fix, and sometimes it's not an easy fix, and that's okay too. But just, you don't have to let things build up would be my biggest thing. We're happy to
And
help.
puppy raisers probably know this, but is the support center also for puppy raising questions? Because we talked a lot very specific about handlers because that's your role, but like, canine buddy, puppy raisers, and where do they turn to the same
So not
place?
puppy raisers, you're going to want to go to your puppy field manager.
Okay.
So, but the training department does cover canine buddy as well. So I also coordinate canine buddy support too. So canine buddy, handlers and guide dog handlers are welcome to call the support center. That being said, the support center does field the odd requests that, maybe came to the wrong area, and can forward people, onto the correct one as well.
Awesome.
Hey,
Well,
Fran.
thank you. We
Jamie, I
have
have a
oh,
question.
great, go for it. I was just about to open for member questions,
No,
so
you're
perfect.
fine. I just have a question. So I don't know if you can answer this or not, but so my dog is in a foster care home while she's undergoing like medical eval and stuff and trying to figure out why she's had so much diarrhea. But um we're not allowed to communicate with the foster care providers. But I mean, do you know like how come? Like obviously like I would like to thank them for helping out under this circumstance, but also I know that they reported back to the vet that like she's been a little stubborn and not wanting to go when it's wet outside, and I'm like, yeah, that's a problem that she doesn't like the rain. So I mean, I don't understand why we can't communicate with the foster care provider, because obviously I had her for a year, so I'd be able to address like, yeah, she's a little finicky when it's wet outside, and that way they have more of an understanding versus reporting back that, oh, she's a little stubborn, because do you get what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
And I do have an answer. So
Mhm.
when you're working with volunteers, right? So our foster care providers are not paid staff members.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the communication part has to be um thoughtfully done, right?
Mhm.
And not overwhelming our volunteers so that we potentially lose our volunteers. And
Okay.
not everyone would necessarily do that, overwhelm them with information. But others might, right? Especially if they're taking care of their guide dog and that's their baby. And
Yeah.
you have a lot of information about them, and that's not always necessarily what the foster care provider signed up for, right? To be communicating all the time. And so, that being said, we are able to pass along information, right? And so that if there are multiple ways that you could potentially do that, you could um, communicate with your field service manager, communicate with support center. We can talk to our um, dog placement and foster care coordinator to pass along information. And the foster care provider questions, we also, I'm thinking of the example of a dog that's slower to relieve in the rain. I have one of those. Her name is Lila.
Mhm.
She doesn't enjoy relieving in the rain. Um, that's often also documented in their training, and possibly in your field reports and things like that. And so we can look up and say, yeah, that's normal for the dog. We provide advice and tips to our foster care providers all the time, and usually with guide dogs in training. So they're used to getting support from staff members and having that communication line open. But if we needed something from you or you wanted to pass information along, you could go through staff members and we would help pass it along.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's understandable. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the understanding. I know it can be
Oh,
frustrating at times. It's it's the system that has worked for us to be able to have our
yeah.
volunteers have the most cohesive experience overall. They're
Which
very
is kind
yeah.
it's kind of like piggyback off of earlier, like with house behaviors. It's like, well, I've had her for a year, so I've allowed her to like, get on furniture and stuff.
Mhm.
And you know, I don't want the foster care provider thinking that she just has bad house behaviors, because if she is trying to get like on their furniture or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and so, but you're right. It's something that I could just kind of communicate to them, and kind of they can pass that info along and stuff. So,
Mhm. And we do an intake form as well. And typically, the support center is the one completing the kennel reservation for dogs um, coming in. So that they'll ask you a number of questions, anyways, to make sure your dog's like getting the right medications and food amount and type
mhm,
of food and such. But there's a spot on it to write. I mean, don't maybe not write 2 pages worth of information
mhm.
on your dog, but if you've got some, like your dog's got the quirk of, slower to relieve on, you know,
Yeah.
gravel or when it's raining or something like that, and you think that it's pertinent, yeah, just they can take a note on it, and then
Okay.
it goes with the dog. But even if you
Mhm.
forgot, there's venues to follow up on that later if needed.
And I think
Amy,
too, as a foster, oh, go Kathy, great. I was going to ask you to jump in on that, but I was going to just say as a foster care provider, we can kind of tell if a dog has had,
yeah,
has house privileges or couch privileges or whatever. So
Yeah.
there's definitely, I don't think it's quite as strict as the program dog kind of thing, but anyway, Kathy and Jenny can speak to this more.
well, I was just going to say one additional thing that I think maybe is at work there, is that the guide dog campus foster care person that we work through can also document what's going on. And we're not in a position to document that. So what goes between the handler and the campus to us all goes into a central record. Whereas if we had a conversation with the handler, that may never come to light. So that I agree with you, Jamie. I think that's a
That
good way
makes a
to
lot
do
of
it.
sense.
Yeah.
Missing documentation gets a lot stickier than
Yeah.
than anticipated. I deal with a ton of documentation now, and when it's missing, sometimes it's not an issue, and then sometimes it can cause major issues. So.
I
One thing
respect
that
it. I've just never undergone this before, so it's all brand
Mhm.
new to me. So it just, yeah, I completely respect it now that like it's been, broken down and explained.
Mhm.
It's a brand new thing that I've gone through. So
Oh, I'm so glad you asked about it, right? The processes aren't of anything isn't a secret. It's just
Mhm.
even I don't know everything. I've had to ask how
Yeah.
some different things work that I've never had to interact with before when I was a GDMI, right?
Yeah.
So
This is Danette. I have a question.
hi, Danette.
So my question would be, as of last Saturday, Mayor has fully retired. He's at my sister's in Montana.
Hmm.
So her plan, Wednesday he goes to the vet to look at, he's got a good sized lump on his tail, to look at that. And she's thinking that her vet is going to call guide dogs, get an authorization number, and do it that way. Normally we call guide dogs to get auth number and then go to the vet. I had told her how to do it, but she's gonna do it with her vet, doing it, getting the auth number. Is that okay for them to do that? You know what I mean?
So I lost a little bit of track there on how your sister was going to do it. Is she calling GDB ahead of time to let them know about the exam?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, she wants her vet to, well, her vet is willing to call GDB
Hmm.
and get the authorization number and do it that way. I had suggested the way that we do it is first for us to call GDB and then get the auth number and bring the auth number to the vet.
Okay. I, that's a great question for the VFA line, but I do see local vets communicating with our VFA vets often, and so I
Good.
suspect that there's some like wiggle room there on because we sometimes will have clients talk with us, and then we end up talking to the local vets before we authorize it anyways. So it might end up working, but that's a good question for
Okay.
the VFA because they deal sometimes that the VFA and how that functions is sometimes straightforward and sometimes can be kind of complicated. So
So
Can
I
I
should call the vet the vet department and tell them what's happening, and I should call them.
yeah, maybe ask if they're okay
Okay.
with the local vet being the one who reaches out for
Right.
the pre-auth. Yeah.
Because
And
I
it
want
might
to
be
keep the,
fine. It might be okay.
yeah, I want to keep the communication open with my sister because she's done rather well at letting me know how he's doing. And it's
Hmm.
only been a week, but she's done rather well letting me know, and I don't want to
Mhm.
ruin that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you want to make sure I will say they're relatively forgiving with people who are, just starting that process too.
hmm
It's like, okay, next time, do it this way.
Right.
Um,
I
so, but
did
yeah.
send an email like to Toby with her name, email, address, and phone number. So which is what Toby wanted. So
Yes. Yeah. Good. Excellent. So you can transfer ownership over. Good job.
Yeah.
Toby's in the support center.
Yep.
He's great.
Yep.
So we have about
Okay.
8 minutes left. Anyone else with questions?
I have a question. This
Hey,
is
Trin. Hi. Happy birthday, Ergo.
Yep, I was just gonna say to the birthday boys right here. So obviously, you know, every dog is different and what they're able to handle and all that. But considering how drivers are in the city, I'm curious. I'm wondering, like, you know, do dogs that work in bigger congested cities, like what is the average working year?
Oh, I'm sure there's a statistic documented maybe somewhere, although potentially not, because I don't know that we have a good way of tracking, you know, with like a checkbox or something who's working in an urban environment. So I'm not sure how environment actually impacts the working career of a dog. There are so many factors that go into it, and I will say that the big ones I see that will impact the working career of a dog is um, the person's lifestyle. So if they need a dog to maintain their pace in order to, you know, get to work and such, then there will be a point where a dog will be old enough that they won't be able to go potentially as fast as the person needs. And so that would mean that that dog might be retired at 9 versus someone who can slow down with their dog and walk at 2.5 miles per hour, you know, while the dog is 12, and only take their dog out, you know, for guide work twice a week, things like that. That kind of dog might work longer, but there's nothing wrong with a dog working less amount of time if the person, you know, their lifestyle demands that they need a dog who can work 5 to 7 days a week at their desired pace to get where they need to go. You know, I think it'd be interesting to see if like pace affected the working length of a dog. You know, in theory, a trotting faster dog might have more impact on its joints, but you know, that's not if we're gathering that information, I don't know, you know, where it is and who's tracking it, but maybe the vet department or the breeding department. I'm not sure.
This is Sylvia, who's in a big city of Toronto. My last guide worked for 8 years. She did slow down like the last 6 months of that. And so she retired at 10 and a half. And Hildy is now a little over 8 and going strong, 6 years working. So.
Yeah. The dog's genetics probably play a role in that as well, right?
Yeah.
Just like people, some of us develop arthritis a little sooner than other ones do. And so there's a lot of factors into how long a dog will work. But a big one is going to be actually how the client can adjust to that dog's aging. And that just depends on their lifestyle and their personal choice too. Yeah.
Hi, it's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, we've not met. I'm from Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Hi.
I've been there a couple times recently.
Yeah, just a quick question. You had mentioned earlier that the wait list is quite long, and I was originally told it would be 9 to 12 months. As of this month, it'll be 5 months since my application was accepted. But you probably don't know the history, but I won't go there. So I was just wondering if that has impacted the wait time.
Yeah.
So the wait time is not 9 to 12 months. I'm not sure who maybe gave you that information, but we are standard telling people that for someone who's open to best match and within the most common paces that our dogs walk, our average time is now 16 to 18 months. And so, you know, 9 to 12 months was like years and years ago, pre kind of COVID. People might get served in a year or less. And it can take longer if someone's waiting for specific characteristics like black lab female only, or they're working in an urban environment like downtown Toronto, and they're waiting for a very city sound dog, which we get, but not as many as the ones that, you know, work in more moderate type of environments and are comfortable in that environment. And it's not a secret that we have people who have waited much longer and we are serving them first. So that's our current number, and you will be waiting longer than 9 to 12 months.
Thank you. This is Sylvia again. I guess I should put in my application.
Well, I mean, and here's, yeah,
I
yes.
mean, she is 8, but I was hoping she'd work until she was 12, but
I mean, it's such an individual choice, and I tell people those home interviews are good for a year, a little bit of wiggle room on that, but before we have to update them because people's lives and bodies change, sometimes really quickly. But you can just let your instructor know if you're interested in like a just in case home interview because you think you might apply in the next year. It can be nice to get it done when we're there, especially if you're in a more remote location where we just can't get to you super easily.
when's your next trip to Toronto?
Well, I have someone going there actually like in a week, but her trip is completely full.
Okay.
Toronto's super busy, but we go to Toronto pretty often, actually. We have big trips to Toronto 3 to 4 times a year. It's a massive, we have more people in Toronto than Vancouver, interestingly enough. Yeah. So there will be more opportunities, and you're welcome to ask for that if you want.
All right,
Okay, we have time for one more question, I think.
One more question, yeah.
Actually, this isn't a question. This is Steph from Schenectady, and I think, Jamie, you may have been part of the training team when I graduated with Stardust back in 2019. So I just
yes. Hi, Steph.
Hi. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone on every level of the organization, because this dog is like, I have never experienced a completely well-trained dog, and she's a tiny dog, but she is going to have huge paw prints that she's left that somebody's going to have to fill. Yeah, she's doing great.
Oh, I love to hear that. We love hearing about things going well, and that people love their
And
dogs.
thank you for teaching me too, because I really was kind of like the problem handler from LA.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that part. I do remember you in Stardust.
I think this is a great note to end on, something positive, and I really appreciate, Jamie, you joining for lots of reasons, but in particular, I think it's really good that you're reinforcing things. Like sometimes we'll see, on our alumni page, people are like, well, why do we have to do this? And why is that? It's like, there's always a reason behind it. And I think you letting us into that window, I think is to seeing through that window is really helpful. To help us understand, why GDB does what they do, so.
And sometimes I don't know why GDB does what they do, and I have to ask why we do it the way that we do too. I've been asking that a lot as one of the newer folks, right? Which I think is a good thing to have fresh perspective too. But we do have a lot of good reasoning for the things we do.
Yeah.
There's a quick question about my favorite boredom game in the chat, and I'll say quickly that I love food toys, ones that are tough. And that can be kind of chewed on and played with. So look up food toys.
Awesome. Was there any other? Thank you for saying that. I didn't notice that. Any other chat questions?
And thank you, Jamie. This was really, really great. And thank you to you and the trainers, all the people on campus.
All the
everybody.
puppy raisers. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you for
and
inviting
thank you to
me.
Rihanna
Thank
for me.
you.
Thank you.
I will.
Thank you, Jamie.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a good rest of their weekend too. And so you're always welcome to invite me back if there's more questions.
Say hi to Michael.